So I'll take pictures and then
I know that I could make a Kinus Torah on Isru Chag, gather together at the sleeping in Torah. In the later years, we find that the Rebbe himself participated in the Kinus Torah. The Rebbe used to say a full sikha on my Chabrengen, the last Chabrengen of the Yom Tov. And that was the Rebbe's participation. The Rebbe said this is his participation in the Kinus Torah. It's interesting that in the later years also, the topic that the Rebbe will talk about in the Kinus Torah was connected to Mashiach. Start backwards in the base, the Rebbe spoke about Allah, Shokedish, about that. In the Kalim, the Hilim, Tishrei, Shavuos, Manal, the Rebbe spoke a whole book about in a Torah, Chadash, Shabbat, Tetzei, in Mantas, like Rabbi just mentioned, the Rebbe said that they should speak about Yom Tov Shem Shogoli that the Rebbe spoke about when Mashiach's in the car. When Mashiach's in the car, this is going to be 2 days Yom Tov or 1 day Yom Tov. That's what the Rebbe spoke about in Tishrei Manal, Simchas Torah, and Shavuos. Shavuos comes about text. The Rebbe asked interesting questions. The same feels like this year. The Rebbe said that by the Fabrengen, last Shabbos, which parsha did we read? We didn't read Parshas Nasa. We read the parsha. We read the case of Torah for Shavuos. On Isru, there's only one day Yom Tov, so they're ready to read Parshas Nasa on Shabbos. So by the Fabrengen, the Rebbe said, Mashiach's going to come today, right now. I'm going to go to Isru. Which parsha? If in Eretz Yisrael it's already night, Mashiach's going to come, that's even this week. And in Eretz Yisrael, they're already reading the next parsha. We're reading Parshas Balois, and you're reading Parshas Nasi. So which parsha are we going to read? And the Rebbe said that they should talk about this, but in Spain also. It should be, the Rebbe picked certain topics about Mashiach and asked that they should talk about these Mashiach Nigerian questions by the Kinus Torah. The Rebbe said, Simchas Torah function on base that what's demanded from a Yid, the avoided from a Yid and Simchas Torah, the way Yid should live the whole Simchas Torah and continue this way of living throughout the whole entire year has to be an avoider connected to Geula and Mashiach. And there the Rebbe got a whole lot of difference that the first pasuk that we say before our conference is Ata Reis Ladas, Hashem will keep Eid Bavadi. And the last pasuk from the whole, from the 17th psukim is Kivitzin Tetzei Yisrael Bar Hashem Yerushalayim. The Rebbe explained here that when will all the psukim be fulfilled? All the 16 psukim before it's only when Kivitzin Tetzei Yisrael when the Gul's going to come and Torah is going to come out of Yerushalayim. So the first pasuk Ata Reis Ladas, the Rebbe said, when are we going to see? The Alter Rebbe says in time and Periklam involved. Now what happened by Matan Torah? This the Yidden saw that Ein Eid Milvadi. He saw there's nothing exists besides for the Eibishter himself. Ein Eid Milvadi. This was only a taste from the Mesa Mashiach. It's only a taste from the Gili of Ein Eid Milvadi that is going to be the Gula there that a Yid needs to live with Mashiach. The whole year means he has to live with this Indian of Ein Eid Milvadi. But the Rebbe explained how can a Yid live with Mashiach? The Rebbe's words was Dosi Yavgosham Yuchedes. This is the Rebbe says, how does a Yid make that he should live his whole life as if he's living in Yemesa Mashiach, to live a Ge'ulidik life, to bring Yemesa Mashiach into Kol Yemei Chayach, to bring Yemesa Mashiach into your day-to-day life. This is through learning Hilchas of Mashiach. Which l'chayre can say this means just to learn about Mashiach in general. And the Rebbe says Hilchas of Mashiach, and the Rebbe continues. The halacha is beside the negeya to the Lebanon and the halacha for giving the Mesa Mashiach. The halachas that are applicable that are negayah to Yemais Mashiach. And that's not enough. All these words, the halachas, the Rebbe has a footnote. And that year, Simchas Torah was the Sima Rambam. They learned the end of the Rambam on Simchas Torah. So there the Rebbe says that this year we're learning Hilchas of Mashiach, the halachas of Mashiach on Simchas Torah. And the question is, the Rebbe says this is what he's emphasizing very strongly the last period of time to learn Hilchas of Mashiach. Where do you see the Rebbe is emphasizing to learn specifically the halachas of Mashiach? In the Rebbe's Sichos, in Tazriya Mitzvah Topshin Amal, when the Rebbe says to learn about Mashiach, where the Rebbe said that's the straightest way, the Derech HaYeshara, to bring Mashiach is through learning about Mashiach and Torah. The Rebbe doesn't mention the Rambam. Only in the Bescham and Topshin Amal, the Rebbe says to learn Hilchas of Mashiach, to learn Hilchas Malach HaMashiach, the last two program of the whole Rambam that talk about Mashiach. So where do you see that the Rebbe's words is Adgosh Al Yuchad is a very special emphasis of the Rebbe to learn Hilchas Mashiach. So it's very, very simple that the strongest emphasis the Rebbe did was that the Rebbe stood for 4 hours and handed out this booklet to Anoshim, Nashim, Ataf, men, women, and children, certain Kentreisim, and Cholsu, the Rebbe only gave the people over Bar Mitzvah. And if Shavuos, Tavshim, on the test, the Rebbe gave a siddur only to us under Bar Mitzvah. Certain Kentreisim, the Rebbe gave only to Shluchim, for example. Certain Kentreisim, the Rebbe only gave to Shluchim. Wasn't for every single person got everything. But this Kentreis, the Rebbe gave to every single person. And this is the biggest emphasis in Al Pi Halacha. This is called Ma'aser Rav. Ma'aser, when someone does an action, when one proves something, a pasuk says like this, a Gemara says like that. But when you see that someone acted in a specific way, that's the strongest proof you can bring. Rav, it's a very strong proof. So the Rebbe is standing and giving every person a booklet with his 4 sichos on the last 2 paragraph of the Rambam. This is the biggest Haggasha there is to learn Hilchas Malach HaMashiach with the Rebbe's Biyurim. And why Dafka Halachas, the Rebbe says, explains in a couple of places. The Rebbe says in Torah, why Dafka Hilchas HaMashiach? Why Dafka Halachas? Why isn't it just to learn Gemaras, Midrashim? So there's many, many reasons for this. Why Dafka Halachas? But one of the reasons the Rebbe says in Torah Eilam Mishpatim that there's Zera Adam and Zera Behema. There's people, there's an Neshamas of people and there's Neshamas of animals. What's the difference between a person and an animal? An animal doesn't have das. He doesn't have a feeling. He can trample on anything. He doesn't connect. Das means to connect. Al Rebbe says over there that most Neshamas are like animals and they don't connect to things. They can learn, but they don't connect to it. How does a person get das? Al Rebbe says, how does a person connect to something and feel it? Das makes chesed and Buddha. That gives birth to the midas, to the feelings. How does a person have feelings? To have Ava and Yira, chesed and Buddha for something that it's a real thing. That's through the Alter Rebbe says is limud halachos. When a person learns halachos, this gives in das a connection, a real strong connection to that thing. So too in Mashiach, how does a person have this connection to Mashiach and to have das, to live with it and feel it? Specific through learning halachos. Another thing that Rebbe said many, many times, when the Rebbe was Shoylem, the Zionist, the Zerachi movement, that they said the Yidden are going to Eretz Yisrael, and this is already the beginning of their redemption. This is already a schalt of the Geula. And there's Midrashim that clearly say that first there's going to be Kibbutz Goliath, and only after that's going to be Binin Beis HaMikdash. First Yidden are going to go to Eretz Yisrael, and later the Beis HaMikdash is going to be built. And they said Yidden are going to Eretz Yisrael. So this is the beginning of the redemption. And later the Beis HaMikdash, you don't need the Beis HaMikdash to be built. And they bring a Gemara in Megillah. It says that after Yerushalayim is going to be built, Malach HaMashiach is going to come. So you don't need a Malach HaMashiach. You don't need the Beis HaMikdash. You think you go to Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara starts with that. And the Rebbe screamed hundreds and tons and tons of times that a psag din la'alocha l'maisis mistafkin sifri apoiskim. But a guy wants to know how do you light the menorah on Hanukkah. He doesn't open up in Shnais, and he can say, okay, I want to go like Bishamar. I want to light every night 5 candles, and the next night light less. It doesn't work like that. Of course, you have You have to go according to Shulchan Aruch. Psyched in Allah L'maisis, specifically in Sifrei HaPoskim, and not in Midrash Chachamim Zal. Specifically, the Rebbe says the only Sefer Halachis that has a thing called the Hilchis, Melech HaMashiach, is in the Rambam. So yes, you have a Gemara that says like this, it says the Gemara says like that, the Rambam for sure knew all of these Gemaras, the Rambam for sure knew all of these Midrashim, but nevertheless, the Rambam says clearly that the first thing is you need to have a Melech HaMashiach. Till there's a Melech HaMashiach, there's nothing. You can go to Eretz Yisrael, whatever you want, it's gone. First thing is Melech HaMashiach. Then Melech HaMashiach builds the Beis HaMikdash. And only after that you can go to Eretz Yisrael. But my point is, the Rebbe emphasized that if you want to know something, you have to open up the halachos about this concept. Not a Gemara, not a Medrash. So this is also, the Alter Hilvitz was a Tobin in Lubavitch. He made a whole Sefer, the Tovshin Men, already on Hilvitz Melech HaMashiach. And he showed it to the Rebbe in Kinus. And the Rebbe told him that I want you to print in the Sefer my Chitushim on Hilvitz Mashiach. And the third Sikha, the famous Sikha of Shteit Kudus B'Yomesa Mashiach, is what he prepared for his Sefer. And later, when he printed the Likud in Tavshin Hey, they took it from his Sefer. They took his Sefer and they gave it to the Rebbe to be Margiah. But he writes in his Akdom over there, about the Rebbe's Sikhas and Hilchas Mashiach, he says that Sikha the Rebbe explaining Hilchas Melech HaMashiach is halacha. It's halacha l'maisa. This itself is halacha l'maisa. It's very, the way he writes, it's a very, very geschmack. But when the Rebbe is the only mefoidish on these two talking, the Kesef Mishnah, that on the whole Rambam, he writes pages and pages. Right in the beginning of Hilchas Mashiach, he writes, Perik Hazeh, this Perik of Hilchas Mashiach, Shua Acharov, Perik Ed Aleph, and Perik Ed Beis, Munoiv, Toivoiv, Levias Mashiachenu. It's nice, believes in the coming of Mashiach. The Ein Li Lefarish Bohem Dover. I have nothing what to be Mefarish on these projects. That's what the Kesef Mishnah writes. The only thing he does write is because the Ravid has a question on the Rambam. The Rambam says that when Kazim was killed by the Romans, or killed through his Avedis, and in Sanhedrin it says that the Chachamim killed him. That's what the Ravid asks on the Rambam. The Rambam says that the Romans killed him. And the Gemara says the Chachamim killed him. So the Ravid asks this question, so the Kesef Mishnah answers. That's the only thing he writes. By the Rebbe was mafarish every single word in these two prakim, and there's a sefer in Hilchas Beis HaBchira. Hilchas Beis HaBchira is 8 prakim, and each perek has like 20 halachos. You have 100 and something halachos over there, and there's a sefer of 300 pages of the Rebbe's Biyurim on Hilchas Beis HaBchira. Hilchas Melech HaMashiach is 2 prakim, not 8 prakim. Perek Ed Aleph has 4 halachas, Perek Ed Beis has 5 halachas, altogether only 9 halachas. Only 9 halachas, and there's a full sefer of over 700 pages of the Rebbe's Biyurim just on 9 halachas, which means just the opposite from the other Mefarshim that Gemara didn't explain anything on these 2 prakim. We're going to ask Harav Yosef Zalzman, the Rebbe's Shliach for Toronto, to be mechazik us in learning the Yonah Gula Mashiach.
Job to speak here, but any sovereign will go. So I'm here. To continue the Nikuda that Rabbi Zagin started, so actually I heard it, but it actually made a lot of sense. It says Moshiach couldn't have come before the Rebbe explained the Rambam. Why? Because Moshiach is actually one of the things that the Rebbe explains, go follow halach. So what does status say what he has to do? What is his job? Number 1, number 2, number 3, if you learn in the Rambam, Rambam says Moshiach will do learn Torah, does, then he will say Chazit Yisrael, he will strengthen Yiddishkeit, and then being in Beis HaMikdash, then keep his golas. So the Rebbe is asking, where does the Rambam take it? Where is the Makkah? Anything the Rambam says has to have somewhere. And the Rebbe answers, the Rambam actually says, look on, the question is, the Rambam says, who is Moshiach? How do we recognize it? That he is doing this and this and this. He says, why? Because that's what he has to do. Because that's what he has to do. That's the way to check him if he is. He's from Beis David, he gave him the Torah, and say, So could you explain, can you imagine Moshiach will come before the Biurim of the Rebbe, and there is a Shiloh status, does it have to pay for Nisi? Is there miracles, the miracles, Elon Kemen or miracles in Nisan, Tov Shalom, Gimel, that's when the Rebbe explained the Rambam, the sentence we're talking about Tut Kufis, and that's why the Rebbe says that all the Rambam makes sense in Allah. So the Rebbe Poshet made clear in Halacha, Poshet in this Sefer, as was mentioned here, and step by step explaining what the Rambam says the Halacha, while the Geula has to come, what does Moshiach have to do, what first, what second, what's important, what's the basis, and so on. And as it was mentioned, that all the nine halachas, every word that the Rebbe explained. I remember there was, I think it was Tov Shalom people before the parade. You probably heard before the Rebbe parade, the Rebbe didn't go out to the parade. There was very harsh words by the Rebbe that the Rebbe says, whatever. The Rebbe explained why he didn't go to the parade. And there was, I remember in that Farbrengen, in that part of the Farbrengen, there was a very line of the Rebbe says, why am I involved in all this? There's so many more things that I want to learn. I should sit in my room and learn it. Why am I involved in, so to speak, communal? And then the Rebbe, speaking later, the Rebbe says, my name is Zemfra Nashayla in Rambam. And I remember the Rebbe said it for Brendan. I was a kid, whatever. That's a Rosh Hashiva's job to enter in a Rambam. What do you mean the Rebbe says, my meaning is for enter in a Rambam? And only later it got to me, especially when Yale, I heard Yale a few times on different occasions, different parts of it, said that the Rebbe basically was Mefarish Kol HaTeirah. Any questions, any tables, any questions of Rishenim, Achreinim, Ge'enim, any questions that Yiddishkeit had, and it was left without an explanation, says the Rebbe explained it all. Now, Kol HaTeirah is clear. And basically what it means is, obviously, many things the Rebbe spoke directly. But the main thing is the Rebbe's approach that Torah is one Torah. It's not Pshat, Remesh, Drush, Sodom. There is a wall between each. When the wall existed, so there's Shalos and Pshat, there is no answer. There's Shalos in Allah, no answer, in Drush, in Sod. The minute the Rebbe took off all the mechetzes, so the Rebbe showed many times in the Sefer as a Shaila in Pshat. If you look at it in Sod, answers makes it clear how do we have to learn in Pshat. So basically, the Rebbe made Kol HaTeirah clear. That's the Torah also on the Chov Ches Nisan when the Rebbe said, I did whatever I can to bring Moshiach, now I'm giving it over to you. So obviously there's many ruchlis the Kazakhs that Rebbe brought Elikus to this world, as we know from the first final of Bosalagani. The Rebbe elevated the world, the Rebbe revealed the Yichida in the world, the Yichida in every Jew and in Torah. But one of the things is, I look at all the answers again, all the Shilas in Torah is clear, including that was left the most difficult part in Torah, as was mentioned. The Beis Yosef says, "En little farish." The Beis Yosef says, "Beis Yosef was Zayid, we can't learn it. Came to help us Mashiach. I don't have anything to add." And the Rebbe took Pashat halacha, concept by concept, and went through the whole thing and made it clear. So now Mashiach is ready to come. There is a clear halacha how he has to come, what he has to do. And actually, for a while ago, I gave the sefer to a Rav who had complaints to me while the Bible says that every Moshiach and this, and as much as I tried to answer him, I said, you should learn, I told him the beginning about this contest, this book didn't exist yet. And he says, yeah, but anyway, lately I saw him, I gave him this book, it was my copy, I had it in my car, I met him, it was incidentally. I told him I have for you something. I'm giving him the book. I said, you know, there's two halachas. You say HAKHEL, two halachas in the Rambam, you dalet in the base. Here is a safe Rambam. Look at it. He says, you can't believe it. Just like this book is. Yeah. You have it, learn it, then you'll be ready. Come back. If you have questions, we'll learn it together. I saw him later a while. He says, it's unbelievable. I started my song learning it. I didn't go through it, but we started. It's just that the Camus is crazy. There's so much. When you go through, you see the acres, you're more crazy than the Camus. So, those is a safer. But Derek Klau, I would say that the one who will go through this, if a non-Chassid will go through, so you should see that Rebbe's Shach, the Einus, Iberkernish in the Allah of the Rambam. And later he will complain why Chassidim think that Rebbe is Mashiach or whatever Mashiach is ready to come, but will go down and talk to different level. First of all, we'll be able then to talk to him because he'll be familiar. He'll be someone to talk to. Today they say, it's craziness, it's fever. What's fever? Who is knows Allah and fever? But there's no one to talk to. They're probably out of range to discuss it with them. So today we're here with Temimim, and in Bachrim we take the Temimim and learning. So this is actually the Rebbe Rasham, when he opened the Temimim, he said they are the ones that will fight the Chayr for Ikus Mishachach. Whoever is laughing or asking questions or makes fun for Mashiach or whatever doesn't understand it or laughs from it, the Temimim will be the one who will fight. Today it's quite easy. Today basically Chassidus and the Rebbe is known to the world. What is left over is the questions that people ask on the Yom Mashiach. So if a Bachar learns this with the Chavrus and really understands, looks in the Rambam, and every halach in the Rambam, every line, and every the Rambam brings one raya, second raya, third raya, from Torah, from Nevi'im, halach will make sense. He will be able to understand it, so he'll be able with the time meet someone to be able to give it over. This is nice of to the main thing that the Rebbe says on Daf 11 in Yom Mashiach Gula, and actually is the Rebbe said that the Rebbe said Teresh B'Tzav, Teresh B'Alpeh, Halacha and Chassidus, and then there was a line on the Rebbe, till we put the Sichas of the Sidreinu. So when you're here in this book, you have all the Sichas of the Rebbe, all the put the Sichas, and what is not the put the Sichas of the Sidreinu, how it explains the Yom Mashiach. So that's what I've been learning, and learning with the Charusa, and learning with other Bachrim, and so on, and bring the Gula, the Achlot that we're going to do, Mashiach will come today, and we'll finish nearly right away the summer. And we'll try to drink a dime, how to Tzlach, to the Mashishir, to the Mashpir, what Machen Eiberkernish, as I think the people will be Machen Eiberkernish. Now it's the last stages of that revolution. The brain Mashiach. On those I got a phone call, or actually I got a listening to my answering machine, and I hear Rabbi Broin on the line, and he says, Rabbi Broin over here, can you please call me back? Okay, I called him back. He told me he got the Sefer, and he didn't look into it. He said that once he started opening it up and looking, he said he made a kvius to learn from it every single day. And he says the husband is Machayim event. I wanted to let you know you're Machayim. And he said his Marabah many times in front of the whole 770, more than once. And he told me that till he had his Sefer, he said, till he had the Sefer, he thought he knew everything that Rebbe said, we're going to go to Mashiach. This is what he told me. He said, once he opened up the Sefer, he says, there's more he doesn't know than what he does know. We're going to Mashiach L'Gula. And in that same line, the Nachman Shapiro, he wrote, the Rebbe's what he says, he wrote from Chelik Tezai, from Chelik Tezai, and he actually went over the Sefer. I asked him, the Rebbe has a diuk in Hilchos Tshuva Parik Tes, the Rambam says that in the Ba'osim HaYomim, in those days of Yemei Mashiach, Tarba Deya ve'achochem ve'amis, there's going to be a lot of Deya, Chochem ve'amis, Shenamik Yimola ha'oretz Deyis Hashem. The world is going to be filled with the knowledge of the Eibishter. And the Rambam stops. The Rambam doesn't bring the next three words, Tamayim v'ayom v'chasim. But in the last halacha, the Rambam says in Yemei Mashiach, Lo yi eisa kol ha'elam elu l'dasas Hashem l'vad,
Shenamar Kimola Oretz Beis Avai Kamayim L'Yom HaChasim. The Rebbe asks why Hilchos Tshuva doesn't the Rambam say Kamayim L'Yom HaChasim. And here in the last halacha, the Rambam adds Kamayim L'Yom HaChasim. So anyone that learns the Rebbe's Adronim and the Rebbe's Torah, he knows that this is a deed the Rebbe mentions more than once. I asked him how many times can he tell me did the Rebbe explain this the chiluk between Hilchos Tshuva and Hilchos Malach? She told me there's 5 biyurim. 5 biyurim. We're talking about someone that knows the Rebbe's Torah very well. I told him there's over 31 biyurim on this diuk. Just this diuk, the Rebbe spoke about it more than 31 times. The Rebbe didn't only start with the Adronim, the Rebbe has a beer in Tavshin Chof Aleph, the Rebbe has a beer in Tavshin Chof Ches, Tavshin Lamed Hey, Mem Beis, Mem Gimel, Mem Dalet. There's just in Tavshin and Beis, Chodesh Chayshim, the Rebbe said 3 biyurim on this diuk. Why? In Hilchos Tshuva doesn't say Kamayim L'Yom HaChasim, but in Hilchos Malachim he does say Kamayim L'Yom HaChasim. And this is Rabbi Bray told me also. He went out of his caleb that over here it's not only you copy paste and everything is just there's a whole simon just for this deal. Why in Hilchos Tshuva doesn't say Kamayim L'Yom HaChasim and here it does say Kamayim L'Yom HaChasim. This simon is about 20 pages or something plus just on this deal. So a guy can have a set of Likud Sichas in his house, and Lavdavke knows it's not all organized in one place. Everything that ever said just on this week. I'll then say in HAKHEL why you need to wait for Mashiach. The Rambam said someone that doesn't believe in Mashiach or doesn't wait for Mashiach is a poifer by Torah V'Moshe Rabbeinu. So there's no one Fabregin or Sicha where it ever talks about this deal. There isn't one thing. There's a order in a letter over here. There's another footnote over there. There's a piece in the Bible over there. There's a piece over there. It's spread out in over 35 different places where the Rebbe speaks about this deal. And a guy wants to start to know what does the Rebbe say in HAKHEL. So where is he going to start? He's going to spend 10 hours now starting looking at the 100 Svarim. And who says he's going to find all the Rebbe's video in all the different places? The Rebbe spoke many times. Many times the famous Sikha of Dalit, Shvat, Tavshin Am Dalit. The Rebbe said there's a Nevuah today, on that day, and the Rebbe says, a Nevuah, it says in the Sefer, he taught in the Sefer, Dvar Yoim B'Yoimoi. And the Rebbe said, why am I mentioning a Sefer that's Malakid, there's a Sefer that's Malakid of everything that happened on each day. So the Rebbe is walking, the Rebbe is saying, why am I mentioning a Sefer, Dvar Yoim B'Yoimoi? A Sefer that's only a Sefer of a Likud. But the Rebbe said, now, these days, it's very big. People, first of all, are not going to, if a guy knows he has to start looking, he's not even going to start to look. He's going to give up. And even if he's going to start to look, unless a guy is going to spend time, who says he's going to find everything? And even when he's going to spend so much time looking, all of that time that he spent looking, he could have used that time in learning deeper and deeper if he had everything right in front of him. So the Rebbe said, I'm not embarrassed to quote a sefer that's a sefer of a likud, a sefer value in the Yomi, because this is what we need now. That this is going to be machazik limited a sefer of a likud. Then it's over here. He searched for this. The Avram Baruch Pevzner, he made the sefer that Rebbe's beginning of Chedushim of Yud B'Shas, and he's the Rav of Friday, so huge Talmud Chacham. I spoke with him. How many beyurim the Rebbe says the life of Ari Mikulot? Why is it in a separate Allah? I have at least 3 proofs for Mashiach. From Parshas Nitzavim, B'Shem Hashem L'Kach and Shmusha, from Parshas Bilam, and from Ari Mikulot. So the Rebbe asks, why is this proof from Ari Mikulot? The Rebbe brings it in a separate Allah. The Rebbe separates it from the first 2 rayos. Why is it in a separate Allah? So I told him there's 5 biyurim of the Rebbe that are muger just on this view. And he was shocked. He said 5 biyurim that are muger. He thought there's 2 biyurim on it. There's over 5 places where the Rebbe talks about just this deep. Why is it in a separate halacha? That's a muger. Multi muger. There's even more. So basically, this is the mile when you in a sefer where you have at each concept you have everything the Rebbe spoke about. Just remembering now, if anyone knows it, if Shimon Weizsäcker learning, he was an Amshad of a Chassid, he made many svarim himself. And he came to me once in 77, he said, I'm a shtickle Malgaiver. This is what he says, with Malgaiver. He says, Ich verstehe svarim. I'm quoting him. He said, Ich verstehe svarim. He told me the best sefer he saw in his life is this sefer. This is what he said. He said, I'm not speaking about Shal Kushma. He said, in each concept, I had every single thing Sudan, and he said especially this simple. I remember because he opened it up. The Rambam has one halacha. Say what's the signs of Mashiach? Halacha Dalit. This is something. This simon is put together from over 200 Makoidis. This all over. Then the built-in Muga. There's a whole other pages and pages. They never didn't speak about explaining what's all the signs of Mashiach in one place. One sich a little bit over here, a little bit over there. And over here you have Hoykebar Torah. Why is Mashiach going to be Hoykebar? Everything organized in one place. So the guy doesn't even, it makes it funny. He says, what Rabbi Akiva Wagner told me also, and even wrote it in his letter. He said, they never said to learn about Mashiach. And he said, there's so many stuff spread out all over the place. And he said, people don't have to understand. And he said, people don't have to come to learn it. Because once he got this, he said he started learning from it all the time. And he spoke about it in yeshiva down south many times. And Bacharim should make it preach to live. And he told me himself, because everything is look at the Masudim. We're going to call Harav Yaakov Schechter to say Divrei Chizuk and Divrei Torah and not Mashiach.
First of all, scared exactly for making it possible that the Rebbe Sayra to have Kinus Torah on the Isru Chag is something we've really fulfilled. Everything. So this situation here is right now a matter that the Rebbe wants. This year Isru Chag is especially unusual in that every year the whole Indian of Isru Chag is after Yom Tov, we didn't have a chance to bring all the Kabbalas, especially the Leila Sriya. According to Beishami, you don't bring it on Yom Tov B'Klal. They used to also push it off. So after Yom Tov, they used to bring the Kabbalas. So today was a day with full Kabbalas, but Chutz La'aretz doesn't work out that way. We have the extra day Yom Tov, so it's not really the day that they used to bring the Kabbalah. This year, however, it comes out that way because you have Shabbos following Yom Tov. The Shabbos didn't bring, so today it's actually the Yom Tov. It has its uniqueness and its greatness, as it was in Zman and Mikdash. And Mele, as we're increasing learning Inyani Mashiach Gedula, so we'll have today as well. We can still maybe Chabarai. I just want to give a few words coming off Shavuos, coming off Matan Torah, to be mechazik the union of Chlal, learning Torah with a new and fresh approach. And the freshness of learning Torah is not something which is just an extra thing. It's one of the basics within when the Eibishter gave us the Torah, Lamer. Right? It is in a way that Kol Yom Yevnei Chadash. I'll just say some few words around this Indian. The famous question, which the Farshim asked, not the Farshim on the Torah, the Adei Kavai Lekecha, Asher Tzisicha Be'eretz Mitzrayim. That's where the Eibishter comes and greets us. He didn't find hearing the Eibishter alone. They're Gilul Lagus, and his calling card is Asher Tzisicha Be'eretz Mitzrayim. Farshim asked right away that that's the big Gedul. It's like a lot of Nisim Eibishter to observe Mitzrayim. Eibishter created the world. Anoich Hashem Lekecha, Hashem Barosi, Shamayim La'aretz. Eibishter created. That's the comparison of the greatest Nes can't compare to the union of the Barosi Shamayim La'aretz. And the Rebbe explains in great depth. This strengthens this kasha. Strengthens this kasha as follows: that every Nes is an union of you have a certain teva that in the way the Eibishter made the world to conduct itself, and a Nes changes that nature. But still, you have the essence union of what it is. Tanya brings clearly in the best partial with Yes Yamsu. The water is water. That's the Metzius of the water. In fact, water normally flows, and here the water stood up. So I changed, maybe should change the Teva from one to the other, but the Metzius of the water was still there. No Chiddush insofar as the water was still water, even though the characteristics of the water changed. However, Barasi Shemaim Baritz is Yesh Me'ayid. It means that the etzem thing, the etzem Metzius of a world, of everything we have around us, is something which wasn't, and it's created anew. This creation anew is not a creation that should stay on its own. It's something which requires, it has to be, that the Eibishter is continuously recreating that. Because if it wouldn't be recreated continuously, it just would turn back to where it was before. So it's something which has to be constant. It's not something that you can relax. Eibishter doesn't relax. The world is continuously being created anew. This Nekuda, the Rebbe says, is something which is critical to Torah. Even though this is a kasha. You have to keep copying. It's a kasha. Because David said, didn't say but whenever you have a kasha, a true kasha in Torah, that means it, especially a kasha, which is something which is repeated in many Makarim, many Rabbeim ask this question. So therefore, it itself indicates this is true. Even more so, you see that the Chumash, the way Torah actually starts with, is not a Chiddush Hazel Acher, it's Takir Reishis Bar Lakim as a Shemayim Aretz. You see that the Inyan of Torah, the beginning, is connected with the Inyan of Shemayim Aretz. Why? Because that's the way you have to learn Torah. Learning Torah is not something that's not an old thing. I learned it last year, I learned it before. You have to approach Torah as if this is something fresh and new, and just the same way the world is being created fresh and new. And the interesting thing that Rebbe points out is that the Mishnah Torah also starts the same way. Mishnah Torah is the Kol HaTorah Kula. How does the Rambam start? You say this, Leida, and it's a motzi rishik, mamzi kolim tzoy, which means, and he continues, that if you would think that the Eibishter wasn't there, then nothing would be there, which indicates, al pi Chassidus, except that Rambam uses the lashon of halacha, al pi Chassidus we understand that means if the Eibishter needs to be there in order for the world to be there, it means it's continuous. The world is continuously dependent on the fact that the Eibishter is there, which is another way of saying the Eibishter is recreating the world continuously. So you see that Inyan is right at the beginning. Now, as you progress, we have it in the Buah of Yeshayahu, Torah Chadosha Be'iti Teitzah. This Inyan of Torah is not something that just stays static, but rather with the time, as we progress throughout the years, we have new chidushim and new insights and new depth, until the ultimate Mashiach comes. It's Torah Chadosha Miti Teitzah. Of course, it's always a question: what does it mean Torah Chadosha Miti Teitzah? It can't be a new Torah. So the Rebbe explains it at length. What do you mean Torah Chadosha Miti Teitzah? It's not a new Torah, but it's a new understanding to a level that it's like a Torah Chadosh. The Torah Chadosh. He gives an example. Bishami Bisil, though the halacha is always Bisil. Bishami is Bisil. It's not an halacha. Nonetheless, we know law is going to be halacha k'beishama. So how is that changing the rule? No, very simple. Beishamai was known as Chalti, was deeper, it was sharper and deeper, and therefore people didn't quite get it. It was at such a level that people Beishamai didn't seem to, the svaras that he had were so deep that it wasn't for them. So they understood. Comes into the time of Mashiach, and then we're going to be on a level that's a new understanding and a deeper understanding. Then Beishami, the halach like Beishami. There is some latest in Seichel. We understand why the halach has to be like Beishami. So it's not something changed. There is in the same Torah was there, but the understanding is so deep and so it's at such a new level that it's a Torah Chadosha. So I might say that if you haven't started learning these in Yoni Gula Mashiach, you haven't started learning looking at the Sefer, and you open it up, it's mamish like a Torah Chadosha. It's a new, fresh approach, a deeper approach, a higher approach. Just to go back, because I left with it, there's a kasha there, and why it says it's right, even though my point was that this is the way Torah has to be, fresh and new, and never ending up. But still, there was a question. So Rebbe answered it very simply. A Yid has to know the Eibishter created the world, and he took us and put Eden in Mitzrayim and took us out of Mitzrayim. All of this is for the Eden. Everything that you have, the whole Metzias of Barasi Shamayim and anything else, it's in order for the Yid to be there. If he went through Mitzrayim, he went out of Mitzrayim, he's going to be through all his Aveda until Moshiach comes, and that all is, the purpose is who? The purpose is you. So that's something which in that point you have to take both those points. One is that everything it's for me. It's on coming upon me, and everything is given. It's for me. It also has to be in such a way that it's an upper chodosh, it's a fresh thing, it's a new thing, and when you go into it, it shouldn't be like you're half asleep, but you're fully energized and vibrant. And it's something you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's the way we have to understand things until we come to Torah Chadosha V'Yiteitzei, the Matan Aseret Tzvachim. They're becoming, leading us out of the Golus, Gula Mitzvah Shlem.
The Hemshech to what Rabbi Shachter just said, that the Rambam starts off with Yisoid is Vamuda Chochma is Leidash Yoshem Gotzi Rishayim Umanzi Kol Nimtza. He creates, he constantly creates every creation. This is the idea that Rebbe says, the Bible Rabbi Shachter said, what the Alter Rebbe says in Shari Yichud Ba'amuna, yesterday's Tanya, these days Tanya, that the Eibishter constantly creates the whole world from new. The Chodosh, every single second, and actually this comes because the Torah is a new Torah every second, that creates the world. So the world is a new world every single second. The Rebbe explains in the Maimer, like we said before, that the Rambam starts off with the Chidush, how the world is created recreated every second. And the Rambam's Messiah finishes off the whole Yad HaChazaka with Hilchis Yemaisa Mashiach. And the Rebbe explains in the Maimer why the Rambam is coming to tell you through being Mefarsen at this Indian, how the Eibishter is Machadish, the creation of the world every single second. This will bring about the Siyum of the Rambam, the Shleimus of the Rambam. This will bring the Mesa Mashiach. This will bring the Gula when we're going to bring from the Farsi, this Indian of the Chiddush of the world being created every single second. Right, the Rebbe says, one of the Yesodis of Chassidus, that the Eibishter makes the world every second, the Rambam brings it in the secret of Allah, in the Sefer of Allah. And this is going to bring Mashiach. Chassidus is, like Mashiach told in Al-Shanti, that through being Mefarsim Chassidus, this will bring Mashiach, this will bring the Geula, because this is what Malach HaMashiach is going to reveal. And the Rebbe says, this is in our Sefer of Allah. The Rebbe says, two in go over here, two in Yonim of Yesodis of Chassidus, the Rambam brings it in the Sefer of Allah. Okay, we're going to call Harav Schusterman from the Mashpiyim over here, Mahulu, speaking this, Kinus Tainer.
what's going to be when Mashiach comes? What's going to be regarding the second day of Yom Tov? It was mentioned earlier. That's one of the topics that ever discussed, essentially discussed by the Kinus Torah. That we know the reason why we have a second day Yom Tov now, it was called Sveika de Yoima. It's only out of doubt. The Torah said really Yom Tov is a 1 day. It's really just 1 day. Now Torah is supposed to only keep 1 day Shavuos, let's say. And the reason why we keep 2 days is only out of doubt that we're not sure exactly when is that 1 day of Yom Tov. And Eretz Yisrael, when they know for sure which is the day of Yom Tov, so they keep till now they only keep 1 day. Only in Golos, in places where the Shluchim cannot reach. You know, originally the arrangement was that they would have signs, the codes, the fires to notify when Rosh Chodesh took place. That was able to let everyone know when was Aleph and when would be Pesach. But when the Goyim came or the Kutim, they messed things up, and they used to send certain Shluchim, which were only able to reach certain cities, locations close enough to Eretz Yisrael. So anything further, didn't know when Rosh Chodesh was, leaving them up to a doubt. And for that reason, we have 2 days Yom Tov. So the question is, when Mashiach is going to come, how is that going to work out? And that's for a number of reasons. First of all, there won't be any problems with Kutin. They'll be able to have the messages being sent. Also then, it says everyone's going to be living in Eretz Yisrael. It shows them in the Spashet. So for all these above reasons, perhaps, and some say, there really won't be any more Sveika de Yoima. There really won't be any reason to have a second day of Yom Tov. And there will indeed be only 1 day of Yom Tov kept. However, like Rabbi exactly said, they have nowadays Svarim that bring all the, say, Malakit, all the sources. So it's very easy nowadays to find any topic you want. You can find all the sources necessary. So it's very interesting. There's a Chassam Sofer that brings, on this very topic, there's 2 pieces of Chassam Sofer. And the first piece is actually connected to Shavuos. And he says like this. He says that we find that the Yidden left Mitzrayim on a Thursday. If Shabbos HaGadol was Yud, the day of Teshuvah was on Thursday. So when did they start counting Thursday Sfirah, counting to Matan Torah? It was Thursday night. Thursday night was the first day of the count. Shabbos, we know, according to all opinions, Shabbos was Matan Torah. According to this cheshbon, Alter brings the Shulchan Aruch, that year's Kvias Nisan Iyar was a 30-day month. So according to the cheshbon, from Thursday, 7 weeks later, Thursday was 49 days. Thursday was already day 50. Friday was day 50. Shabbos was day 51. So it comes out that on the day of Matan Torah, the actual Matan Torah took place on day 51 of Sfirah, which we nowadays roll counting Shavuos to day 50, and the actual day of Matan Torah was day 51. So how does this work out? So the Magen Avraham asks this question, and the Magen Avraham brings from the Asar Ma'amores, and he says the reason why Matan Torah was given on the 51st day is the hint to this concept of Yom Tov Shein Shel Goliath. That the Matan Torah took place in Chutz La'aretz, and being that Hashem was already foreseeing the Yidden will be in Golus, so already then, the Lashon brings, forget the exact words, but the very last Lashon now, Hashem already was like planting the seeds that already in this situation, in Golus, on the 51st day will be Yom Tov. I'm hinting to the concept of Yom Tov Shein Shel Goliath, and that's how the Magen Avraham answers this question, why we Matan Torah on the 51st day. So the Chassam Sofer brings the Magen Avraham, and he says, how can you say such a thing? How can you say that the day of Matan Torah, which is the day of Chedos, day we're celebrating our freedom from all nations and all Goliaths, on the day that we're celebrating our Chedos, we're gonna emphasize that we're gonna be in Golus. We're gonna emphasize that we're gonna again be stuck in we just left Mitzrayim. We're celebrating our Chedos. We're gonna now remind you that don't worry, soon you'll be back in Golus. Chas v'shalom to say such a thing, the Chassam Sofer says. Rather, you must say that's because the concept of Yom Tov Shein Shel Goliath doesn't mean Goliath like of Golus. It means of location, the places of Golus, but not the times of Golus. And he therefore suggests to say that even when Mashiach comes, there will still be places that the Shluchim won't be able to reach. Even the fires won't be able to be sent all over the place, because they'll send all the different islands and in the ocean. They'll be too far from one another, and Yidden will be living in places that even these type of messages won't be able to be heard, and therefore the concept of Yom Tov Shegolah will still be in place, out of the same concern of not knowing which days are Chodesh. That's one halacha. That out of the same topic will continue. But the question now of modern day communication, modern day technology, where messages can be sent instantly and notifications are updated on the spot. So the question is that type of notification is counted, can work, so to say, for this type of halachic status. And perhaps you can say that the fact that they sent fires shows there wasn't really an edus of needing kosher aging, and maybe this technology could be counted. So if that would be the case, then even that suffix shouldn't have any concern. The message could be sent and received. So there's another piece of some Sefer says that you can say that when Mashiach comes, there will also be Yom Tov Shegolius, but not because of Sveika D'Yema, also Vada. Even though we know for sure we know the dates, we can use technology perhaps, but it says to acknowledge and thank the Eibishter, to remind ourselves that we were once in Golus, and to emphasize the Geula of the times of the Geula, that we were not always in these days. Remind ourselves that we were once in Golus, to thank the Eibishter for us now being in Geula. And so the Chassam suggests that maybe when Mashiach comes, there will be the concept of Yom Tov Shegolius as a Vadak, even though we know which day it is, we know the Cheshvan, but nonetheless, to remind us of the past. It says similar to the count of the months, that the names of the months are not written in Torah. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, what's the origin of those months? So it's brought that these names were given in Bavel. The words themselves are not Moshe Kodesh, they were given in Bavel, and the reason we use them is to when they went back to Eretz Yisrael after Golus, they went to in the state of Geula, they in Yerushalayim, they wanted to remind themselves and be grateful that once we were in Golus. So along these lines, we can say that when Mashiach comes, we'll also remind ourselves we want to Golus and thank the Eibishter, hence keeping the second day. And the Psalm Sefer says, that's maybe what it says, the Man Tizkar as Yain Seischa Me'er Mitzrayim. Kol Yimei Chayecha. So he says, what was the first day after Yetzias Mitzrayim? What was the first complete day after leaving Mitzrayim completely? We know Kriyas Yamsuf was Shir Shal Pesach. They left on the first day of Pesach. But until Kriyas Yamsuf was still being chased. Kriyas Yamsuf itself was the day he finally left, but it wasn't a complete day. What was the one day that they celebrate Yetzias Mitzrayim is completion? That's really after Shal Pesach, which after Shal Pesach is already on Sveika D'Yema. It's already after Pesach. It's only in Golus that we celebrate after Shal Pesach. So he ties to Man Tizkar, Yoim Seischa, Me'er Mitzrayim. What's the Yoim Seischa after Shal Pesach? Kol Yimei Chayecha, V'Havi D'Moed Mashiach. So he's hinting that even Mashiach comes, there will be a place for this Sveika D'Yema. And Rabbi Zagri mentioned that the Rebbe mentioned this in Toshin and Tess. The Rebbe mentioned it in Simchas Torah, and the Rebbe brought Shavuos as a source. And what's the source from Shavuos? Because Shavuos is the one Yom Tov that there's no Sveika D'Yema. Because we know Shavuos is not a day based on the calendar. It's 50 days from Pesach. By the time Shavuos comes, you already know what day Pesach was. So really, Minatin, there really should only be one day Pesach, one day Shavuos in all locations. Why do we keep 2 days Pesach? Each say 2 days Shavuos. It's only Shalei L'Chag V'Yamayadis. It's not to differentiate between Yom Tovim. But it's really 2 days Al Shvada. It's not 2 days Al Sofek. The 2 days are even Al Shvada. So borrowing this idea, we find by Shavuos that there's a place for 2 days Yom Tovim Al Shvada. So there's a place to say that even when Mashiach comes, even if it's going to be a Vada, there's still a place to say that there'll be 2 days of Yom Tov. There's still some more discussions back and forth. I think the Rebbe said it's in Toshin and Aleph. The questions could still be discussed further, and should continue learning.
Koyach Rabbi Schusterman. Geya learning the Hilchas Malach HaMashiach of the Rambam. So we mentioned before, but they never emphasized many times that each Indian you have to go to where that Indian is in an Allah. But regarding, the Rebbe said one of the reasons why we need to learn it, it says, Kol ha'oisek, ma'toidas oila, kilu hikiv oila, anyone that's oisek in the halachas of the oila, it's as if he was born a carbon oila. Kol ha'oisek in each Indian, that's as if he made, as if that Indian is made. And the Rebbe said so too regarding the Geula, Kol ha'oisek. The Torah HaGeula, what is Isaac in the Torah of Geula? It's as if he's making the Geula happen for himself in his private life, but this brings about the actual Geula. And why this is Machlal, the Torah HaGeula. Why Dafka Halachas, and Rebbe explains that there's many levels of Torah. The Lav Dafka is shy of Torah Maza Agashi. Halacha Lamaisa to this world. It could be Saruchan is Dikah Shayrish Lamaila. But halacha is shayich to this physical world. That's the level of halacha. So too, when it comes to Hilchas Mashiach, when you're Isaac in Hilchas Mashiach, it affects this physical world. And this makes this Indian happen in the world. Another thing that I've explained is that why did the Rambam write Hilchas Malach HaMashiach? Why did the Rambam write it? When the Rambam wrote it, what was the Rambam thinking? Who did it write it for? So one way you can explain it is like the Tosfos Yontif writes, why do we have Maseches Midas? The Allah is of the measurements of the Beis HaMikdash. He says when the Gula is going to come, we should know how to build the Beis HaMikdash. We need to have a sefer that's going to tell us how to do it. So too, why do we have Hilchas Malach HaMashiach? But when Mashiach is going to come, we should know how to. It's like for your Beis HaMashiach. Like our Zalzman said, that till these halachas were explained, so you don't know how to be Makai. You need the Rebbe to explain. But it's again for your Beis HaMashiach. But the Rebbe says a very important Nekuda. Very, very important Nekuda. A Yid has a chiyuv to believe in Mashiach, and he has a chiyuv to wait for Mashiach. And the Rambam writes, Yid has a chiyuv. Every Yid has an obligation to believe and wait for Mashiach. What is this Mashiach that you need to believe in, and what is this Mashiach that you need to wait for? What are you picturing in your head when you say you believe in Mashiach? But what are you thinking about? You're thinking of the Rebbe's face. So what's if you're in 770 and it's before Gimel Tammuz and you see the Rebbe in front of you? So what do you mean you're waiting for Mashiach to come? What do you need Mashiach? You have Mashiach in front of your face. What are you thinking when you're saying you believe Mashiach is going to come? A person is going to come, and what? What's Mashiach that you're believing in? What does it mean you believe in Mashiach? The Rebbe says that's why the Rambam writes a full perek, full two paragraph to say what is Mashiach. When a Yid says he believes in Mashiach, a Yid needs to know what is this Mashiach. And that's why the Rambam says what is Mashiach? Mashiach is going to build a Beis HaMikdash. He's going to be Mekabetz Nitchei Yisrael. And when he builds the Beis HaMikdash, he'll please everyone that is Yisrael. He'll be able to do all 613 mitzvahs. Because there's a Beis HaMikdash, he'll be able to bring korbanos. Because he's going to be Mekabetz Nitchei Yisrael. He's going to be everyone that is Yisrael. He's going to be called Yisrael. Well, he's going to do Shmita B'Yovel. And the Rambam is Meirich. What Mashiach is Shleimus HaTorah VaMitzvahs. So when a Yid thinks about Mashiach, the Rebbe says these two parakim is halacha l'maaseh. Every single word in these two parakim is halacha l'maaseh. Why is it halacha l'maaseh? Not only in the Mesa Mashiach, then you're going to open up an album and start learning Hilchas Mashiach, like people say. Yeah, well, Mashiach's going to come. You have a chiyuv now to believe in Mashiach and wait for Mashiach. How do you know you're believing in Mashiach? You think the guy is coming on a donkey blowing the who says that's Mashiach? What do you need to know what Mashiach is in order to wait for it. And the Rambam took from the whole entire Torah what is Mashiach, V'poyo Mamish, and when a Yid learns it, the Yid can wrap his head around and grasp what is this Mashiach that he's believing and waiting for. And then, like the Rebbe said about himself, when the Rebbe spoke to the Sadiqet Rebbe, like we mentioned before, the Rebbe spoke many times that The goal is Dafka, the way that Rambam says it. So he said that Yidden are going to Eretz Yisrael. So maybe this is the scholar of the goal. So the Rebbe says that Rambam, and he says it in Medrash Tanchuma. So the Rebbe said that Rambam at Kapaskin Zweimol, the Rambam Paskin twice in Ildos Malachim. In Perik, in the beginning of Perik Dalit, and the second time in Perik, the Aleph Halacha Dalit. Then right away the Rebbe paused, and the Rebbe said, "It's Binishkin Baki in the Rambam." Usually the person says the bottom Bakim, so you could be impressed that this guy's Baki the whole Rambam. The Rebbe says, "It's Binish Baki in the Rambam." You can hear the Rebbe saying it. Down stops and then. It's Binish Baki in the Rambam. The Rebbe said, "Now we bald mit der Gate mir so viel die Jahre noch ich das ist gehasst the face in face." Because they're making me crazy. Like people are the Rebbe is screaming so much about this Rambam that is halacha. So the Rebbe says, "I learned it about Peh. I learned the source about Peh. I learned these halachas about Peh." And actually, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but this, after I saw this Sikha, I opened up a Rambam and I said, I want to be spitz like the Rebbe. I'm going to learn these two Prakim Baal Peh. And I sat with this Rambam and I learned it by heart, just like the Rebbe said about himself. What does it mean? The Rebbe is saying you're not working the Rambam. Yankel Landau said when the Rebbe was 17 years old, in Lubavitch, and everyone knew that the Levi Yitzchak Shneser has a son that's Bokim of Kol HaTorah, of course, and everybody knew that Rebbe was Boki in Shas, in Poskin, in everything. The Avram Baruch Bechner says, I heard from him, the Rebbe was once in the oil, and the Rebbe told the Yudel Krinsky they should add in, the Rebbe gave him a note, and the Rebbe wrote a couple of lines, and the Rebbe said they should add this into the Michtav Klali. The Rebbe quoted a few lines from the Sefer, the Sisi Laila, from the Tzaddik HaKoyin of Lublin. So it's a random Sefer, and the Rebbe wrote a few lines, and the Rebbe said to me, I in the Sefer, the Lashon HaBetui, because I'm just writing from my memory. This is the Rebbe standing in the oil, decided to add in a footnote. The Rebbe wrote word for word verbatim from the Sefer, the Sisi Laila, from the Tzaddik HaKoyin of Lublin, a few lines in some random place over there. They added it in. There's a HAKHEL printed in the label Shapiro. He's mafarsing this. When one of the Rebbe's sikhs in the Aleph, I think, the Rebbe added in. The Rebbe says Mahoisiv, what the Radvaz writes, and the Rebbe writes like two lines, and the Rebbe says, and I saw the letter. The Rebbe says La'ayin Aloshin B'Diyu. You should open up the Rebbe's writing from his memory, and it's word for word from the Radvaz in the random Radvaz. The Rabbi Heller. The Rosh Kodesh Karanites, he says a famous story. The Rebbe needed once some random sefer, and he asked if it's in the library, and he didn't have it in the Rebbe's library. It's such a random sefer. So the Rebbe asked him label if he could get it. So he asked Rabbi Heller, which he has also a lot of random stuff, and he had the sefer. He gave it to Rabbi Groner. Rabbi Groner gave it to the Rebbe, and after like 5 minutes, the Rebbe gave back the sefer, and there was a piece of paper inside the sefer. And the Rebbe said, like, there was a piece of paper inside. So he opened it up to that piece of paper, and the Rebbe said it's missing something. This is some old sefer that doesn't have page numbers, and it doesn't say this. You can see page 18, page 20, so it's missing page 19 in the middle. And the Rebbe, after a couple of seconds of random sefer, the Rebbe realized that it's missing a whole piece over there, in the middle of the sefer. And he, over Rabbi Heller, Kedarika, he brings out, people want to be spitz. To be like the Rebbe, she said, "Was it the Rebbe getan? Der gesitzen gelernt Tag und Nacht." The Rebbe was barking in. So here the Rebbe is saying on a Rambam, ich bin nicht barking the Rambam. I'm not barking the Rambam, but this Rambam I learned about that. So I thought to myself, this is Maderech Avshir, like he has 90, and Bliach writes, whenever it can be voiced with Yirah Shamayim, like the Rebbe Rashab said, when you get to Purushim and Tanya, so it's a lot of people mafarish. The Rebbe is saying, I'm not barking the Rambam, but this I did learn about that. The Rebbe's Kinus. What does it mean? Someone learns something about the koiches that someone puts into something to learn something about the way the koiches that Rebbe put into these two prakim. The whole Rambam Lagabi. This means that I'm barking the Rambam. I'm not barking the Rambam, but this I did learn about. Like the Rebbe's koch these prakim. I'm not barking the Rambam. Like you see the Buchish from the Sefer, what the Rebbe put in, how much koiches the Rebbe put into every single word in these two prakim. So just like in the Kinus Torah, that you not only say DVAR MALCHUS learning, we actually say in Yonah in learning. I'm going to say over a word in the Rambam. The Rambam in Hilchas Malachim, Perikut Aleph, Halacha Dalet, says over here that there's different signs for Mashiach, and then he says, if he was not Matzliach till here, or he was killed, you know that he is not the one that Torah promised on it. The question is, what does it mean? Till here, or he was killed. What is it talking about? What's Adkoi? What's the level? The Rambam says earlier, it says, "Im Yamid Melech Nu Beis David, Doigim HaTorah, Ve'exik V'mitzvahs Kedavid David, Kitera Shebeksav Shabal Peh." If a king is going to get up from the house of David, that he himself toiling in Torah, Ve'exik V'mitzvahs Kedavid David, according to Kitera Shebeksav and Kitera Shabal Peh, Yaakov Kol Yisrael Leilach Malchaz Yibitko, Vilcham Mochamis Hashem will force all the Yidden to go in the ways of Torah, strengthen the cracks in Yiddishkeit, will fight the wars of the Eibishter. He is the Chazak of the Mashiach. But if he did what it says before, and it was about Matzliach, the Nitzach called home, he won over all the growing all around that Yisrael. He builds the Beis HaMikdash in its place. He kibbutz Nitchei Yisrael. He gathered all the Yidden together in Yisrael. Areza Mashiach, Mavada, he's for sure Mashiach. Then the Rambam continues, if he wasn't Matzliach till here, or he was killed, so what is it going on if he was not Matzliach? If he was not Matzliach till here or killed, what is it going on? Which state? Now, many people learn, what did the Rambam just say before? If he builds the Beis HaMikdash, he's Mekabetz Nitchei Yisrael, he's Mashiach B'vadai. So if he wasn't Matzliach until here, if he didn't build the Beis HaMikdash and take out the Eretz Yisrael, or he was killed, you know that he's not Mashiach. And this is how I saw it. They just printed the Rambam on a Voyon, and this is the way the Mafarish should have lived here. But L'cha'oira, this is not shot in the Rambam for a couple of reasons. The first reason is, the Rambam says, he was not successful till here. Oy Neherag. What does it mean, Oy Neherag? Oy means that if he wasn't Matzliach till this stage, or he got killed. If he wasn't Matzliach or he got killed, is the same thing. Getting killed is also means not to be Matzliach. Getting killed means he's not Matzliach. Why is the Rambam adding Oy Neherag? Obviously, this is Oy Sofa, that even if he was Matzliach, but even after his Atzlacha, he was killed. Oy Neherag, or he was killed. So if you're talking about Binin Beis HaMikdash and Kibbutz Goliath, so he's already Mashiach B'vadai. The story's over. He builds a Beis HaMikdash, he brings everyone that, so the Gula is there. First of all, it's not even Shaykh. The way that Rambam's Matar earlier, and this itself is going to be a chazik, the beer over here, that the Malach HaMashiach is V'nitzach Kol Homesh Yisvivo. The Mashiach is Misholim Yom Ad Yom. He's ruling over the whole world. So he's going to build a Beis HaMikdash, take out of that Yisrael. This is already, you can't build a Beis HaMikdash when you have any means of Chalal. It doesn't make sense to say it's only after, like it says by David HaMelech, Hashem, when all the enemies were and the Rebbe says that's the Lashon of the Rambam, and Nitzach Kol Ha'umish Yisvivo, it's Mechuven to the Lashon of Pasuk of Hashem Yiniach Lo Yisrael. All the enemies surrounding weren't there. So obviously, you're not talking about, it was already Matzliach, but the Beis HaMikdash took that with that. So you're talking about an earlier Shlav, but even after his Atzlacha, he can still get killed, and then that's a simon that he's not Mashiach. Now, if you see in the Lashon of the Rambam writes earlier that The Rambam says that there's three shlavim over here. There's three in Yonah. There's Malach HaMashiach himself, the person Mashiach. He himself is hoiger by Torah basic mitzvahs. The way the Etzem Mashiach Betzim, the way he's in his room, nothing to do with that. Well, that's one thing. The second shlav is Mashiach's Hashpah and Yidden, forcing all the Yidden to do Torah and mitzvahs. Mashiach affecting the Yidden. The third level is Mashiach affecting the Goy, fighting the wars of the Eibishter. This is the three levels. Then there's another separate meaning that's bringing Beis Hamikdash and Kibbutz Golish, building the Beis Hamikdash and taking everyone to Eretz Yisrael. That's already Mashiach Bavadis for sure Mashiach. But these two in Yonim, the Rambam says Mashiach, in order to be Bacheskas Mashiach, in order not to be Mashiach Bavadeh, to be presumed to be Mashiach, but Chazaka that he's Mashiach, he says that Malach HaMashiach is Yokuf Kol Yisrael. He will force all the Yidden. Now the words of the Rambam is not for Kofar Kol Yisrael. He had already forced all the Yidden to go in the ways of Torah and mitzvahs. In order to be Becheskes Mashiach, the Rambam doesn't say but Kofar Lashon Ovad in a past term that he did it already. He says it in Lashon Hoive B'Yokon. He needs to be a person that's forcing all the Yidden to do Torah and mitzvahs. That's Becheskes Mashiach, and so to the wars. The Rambam doesn't say he needs to win wars in order to be Becheskes Mashiach. The Rambam says he needs to be a fighter. He needs to be a person that's fighting the Eibishter's wars. Such a person is Becheskes Mashiach. That's Becheskes Mashiach. To be Mashiach Vadi, the first two things that we said before, Mashiach's affecting the Yidden, Mashiach affecting the Goy, it needs to be not only that he's doing his part to force the Yidden to win the Goy, but he needs to actually be successful, that the Yidden should come from the Yidden. He needs to win wars. So the first thing that Rambam says of Mashiach Vadi is if he did, and he was Matzliach. If he's talking about Torah basic mitzvahs, you don't say Asa v'Yitzliach. That's who he is. This is going on Yaakov Kol Yisrael Leilach B'Alachaz Bitka to force all the Yidden Leilach B'Alachaz to go in the ways of the Torah, of the Chazik Bitka to strengthen the cracks, the breaches in Yiddishkeit. So this is going on. In Asa v'Yitzliach is going on Yaakov Kol Yisrael. The Nitzach Kol Ha'umish Smivav is going on Yilchon Muhammad Hashem and fighting the wars of the Eibishter. Asa v'Yitzliach is successful with the Yidden. The Nitzach Kol Ha'umish Smivav means he's successful with the God. That's the first level to be Mashiach Vadi. Then there is the Beis Hamikdash taking down the Eretz Yisrael. So now we connect these two stages, affecting the Yidden and affecting the Goyim. So the Rambam says in Lo Yitzliach. How does he say that he's Matzliach in Yaakov Kol Yisrael? He says in Asa v'Yitzliach. And how does he say regarding the words V'Nitzach Kol Ha'umid? So too when he's speaking about when someone isn't Matzliach, to be Shoylem, to be from Shlili, he says V'Lo Yitzliach. Connected to the Rosh Hashanah, in Asa v'Yitzliach. If he was successful to make Tikkun go in the ways of Torah and mitzvahs, V'Lo Yitzliach means if he wasn't successful to make Tikkun go in the ways of Torah and mitzvahs. Which means even if he was Matzliach and all the Yidden, he was Matzliach to make Tikkun to go in the ways of Torah and mitzvahs. Where does this Lashon Neherak come from? Why Neherak? This is a Lashon of a war. Someone's fighting a war and he's Neherak Ba'Milchama. It's even that Neherak, if he does get killed in the war, then you know this is not the one that the Torah promised. How do you know that this is not the person the Torah promised? So how is it to be your dua? The Rambam is saying it's known. You know it already. It's obvious. Why? Because the Rambam said earlier in Halacha Aleph several times that what is the sign of Mashiach? That he's not only fighting the wars of the Eibishter, but he's Matzliach. It says again and again how V'karkar kol b'nei sheis. He will destroy or rule over all the Goyim all over Eretz Yisrael. They're going to be an inheritance for him. Mashiach will be successful to win over all the Goyim. Then the Rambam continues. So first of all, we understand from here that what is the Rambam excluding if someone was not successful to make it and go in the ways of Torah and mitzvahs, or he was killed in the wars. This person isn't Mashiach. And he's just like all the Rambam says, it's known that he's not the person that Torah promised about him. He's just like all the other kings of the house of David that there were throughout history, and they were nostalgic. Why did the Eibishter make such a person come up? This is only to test the Yidden to see are they going to fall? Is he going to take away the Rabbuna? Someone got up and he started doing things to be Mashiach, and then he wasn't Matzliach. Are you going to say, okay, we give up? Mashiach we give up the Rabbuna, Mashiach coming in the future, or you're going to continue the Eibishter promise Mashiach is going to come? Doesn't make a difference if there wasn't Matzliach, but it's the Eibishter's promise and it has to happen. So it's a test. Why did the Eibishter make this? Rambam means a process. From Daniel, it says, the maskilim, the wise, the chachomim, they're going to stumble, they're going to fall, they're going to trip during their litzreif bahem, or the v'adir of the Laban, when they're trying to clarify, to make clear, they're going to stumble. Till when will this be? Ad eis kates, till the time of the end. Ki oid lamoyid, because there is a lot of time left till the Geula. Now, what is this pasuk talking about? What's the pshat of this pasuk? That throughout history there were many tzaddikim that said Mashiach is going to come in a specific time. And how did they say Mashiach is going to come in a specific time? They opened up a Daniel and they're trying to clarify what there in Daniel. He says when is Mashiach going to come? When is the end of? When is the case? So there's different chachomim that they said, oh, this pasuk means like this pasuk means like that. I have a friend of Isru Weisberg, so he has also, a whole bunch of psukim and this to explain how the Gula is, when's the case. But this is someone from, from our generation. But so he has a reason why he says it's mutter. Even though that Amal says, you should not open up a Daniel and try to figure out what is the end of the days. And the Amal says you should wait every day. Don't make these cheshbonis. Because if you're going to make cheshbonis, you're not going to end up. There's a few reasons. And one of the reasons the Gemara says over there is because you don't know anything and you're just making up the Eigen and Mises. And then the day's going to come that you came up with your chesh, and the Gula is not going to come. So the people are going to give up hope and stop believing in the Gula. Therefore, don't make these cheshbonis. It's not none of your business. You wait for Mashiach. The way the way he explains what Mashiach is, you should wait for it, and that's it. So, but there's chachomim in history that they made cheshbonis. They opened up psukim and they made cheshbonis. So Daniel himself says that the maskilim, they're going to stumble. They're not going to really know how to figure out when is the time of the Geula. Why? Why are they not going to know? He says over there because the chachomim, like the Rambam himself writes twice over here in Pelikan's Beis, in Allah Adal, he says, Mis'avu ha'chachomim v'anevim yemei Mashiach. The chachomim and the Navim, the maskilim, they had a taiva, they had a portion of taiva for yemei Mashiach. They wanted Mashiach to come. And this is what the Mepharshim say on this was because they had a taiva for Mashiach to come, so they automatically, if you have a title from Mashiach to come and you can open up a Daniel, what are you going to do? You're not going to look at it objectively. You're going to stick in. You're going to mix your titles with the cheshbonis to be mafarish the psukim that the Gula is going to come in their lifetime. And that's what you see. When the Rambam made the cats, it was 5 years after the Rambam was lifted. That was the date. It was around their lifetime. Why? Because they wanted Mashiach to come in their lifetime. They wanted to see Mashiach. So they were mafarish the psukim in a way that it fit, that it should be, but they weren't looking the way the pasuk is ba'amis. So this is what Daniel himself says, that the maskilim will make a mistake to clarify, to make it clear, to be malabin. Till when will this be? Till when will this be, this making the richtige cheshbonis? He says, Aday's case, till the time of the case is going to come. Now, what does it mean, Ad Eis Kates? Does it mean till the actual Geula is going to take place? So, in Daniel, the Mepharshim on this pasuk say, what does it mean, Eis Kates? It doesn't say Ad HaKates. till the case itself. It says ad ace case, till the time of the case. Which means out there, the Rebbe said, man geulaska. Not that the Gula itself came, but the time of the Gula. So as you get closer, so the Issa Weisberg says, it says ad ace case, and because it's already the ace case, so it's already not going to be this even of Yikoshlu. So this is what he told me, what I told him in this Rambam, a different part. What's the Rambam saying? Why is the Rambam bringing this pasuk? The Rambam is bringing this pasuk with a geya. You're trying to be provided. What does this pasuk have to do with the Rambam's talking about? You're trying to figure out who's Malach HaMashiach. And a guy came up and he had some signs to be Mashiach, and he wasn't Matzliach till the end. So the Rambam brings this pasuk that you're going to be in Yishuv. This is L'chayda talking about what? To figure out not who's Malach HaMashiach, but to figure out what is the Zman HaGeula. It's a different Indian. How is this pasuk explaining me how someone is lo yitzliach at koyin nerag we do sheni zeh shefticha al Torah? What does the time of the Geula have to do with clarifying? When does the time of the Geula have to do with clarifying the signs of Mashiach? Who's Malach HaMashiach? When is he going to come? So the answer is, like the Rebbe explains in many places, more than one place, that when the Rambam said, for example, that the Geula is going to come in his time, so this Geula has to come through a Melech HaMashiach. This Geula is not just going to take place on its own. This is actually one of the main things that Rambam emphasizes. Hillel said that the Geula is going to happen without a Melech HaMashiach. And the Rambam emphasizes that anyone that says the Geula is going to take place without a Melech HaMashiach, to separate Melech HaMashiach from the Geula is clear. The Geula, the time of the Geula has to be together with the Melech HaMashiach. So when different tzaddikim said that the Geula is going to come in that time, so there's also a Melech HaMashiach that's going to make this Geula take place. Now, once it's Nizgala, that it's not the Zman HaGeula, what's Nizgala also? That this person also is the Melech HaMashiach. What's greater? To be mafkiya, this person will be Mashiach, is that it's nicht the Zman. Because it's nicht the Zman, so therefore it's nicht the Mensch. So that's why the Rambam brings this pasuk. There's a yesod, there's the main thing that has other things that are built on it. If the foundation is the Zman HaGeula, the time. If it's the Zman HaGeula, so there's also a Melech HaMashiach that brings this Geula. If it's not the Zman HaGeula, so but therefore this person is also not the Mashiach because it's not the time for it. And this is what the Rambam emphasizes, that the main thing over here is what makes him Melech HaMashiach or takes away his chazak from being Mashiach is if it's the Zman of the Geula or not. And the Rambam says, till when will this be? Till the Zman of the case. There's a lot of time till the real time of the Geula. What do we understand from this? The Rebbe brought down a mimer from the Alter Rebbe. My mother had made a zaken akzorim. The Alter Rebbe says over there that there were, Rashbi said a case. Rashbi said the Geula is going to come in the year Tov Ches. And the Poel Mamish, what I did, we're waiting for that year. The Rashbi says it in Zoya. We're waiting for that year. When that year came, so that's the famous Tach V'Tat program that happens at I don't know the numbers, but a huge amount of Yidden were killed. And the Geula didn't happen then. So the Alter Rebbe says in the Mama, how is it possible that Rashbi says the Geula is going to come in a specific time? So the Alter Rebbe explains this is the difference between a Chacham and a Navi. It says Odiv Chacham and Navi. A Chacham is greater than a Navi. So he says because a Chacham can see the future. He can see the future. He can see what's going to be in a very, very long time. He sees things the way they're going to be in a very long time. That's a Chacham. But a Chacham sees things the way they are in Ulam Yisrael, the way they are in a high Ruchnistik, the rates in Shammai. But the Rashbi saw that the Geula is going to come in the year Tov Ches. He was not wrong. The Geula came in the year Tov Ches. Where did the Geula come in the year Tov Ches? In Eilam Atzilis, in October and Seder Shtaushelus. What? But Rashbi thought he saw the Geula is going to come in that day. And by him, it was Munach that it's going to be Nishtaushelus, it's going to come down from Atzilis to Bria, from Bria to Yitzira, to Asiyah, to this physical world. But what happened? There were many to be called. The police came and they said license and registration, please. And the Gula gave it, and they said, I'm sorry, you cannot come inside. You don't have your vaccine. Stay over there, stay on service. And the Gula didn't happen in this physical world. And the other Rebbe says it was this topic that it should be just the opposite of the Gula that made it for the dogs. That now that Rebbe says it's because the Gula was said that it's going to come at that hard inside the level of a Chacham. Chacham. What's the idea of a Navi, a prophet? The job of a Navi is to tell people things that are going to happen in this physical world. That's the job of a Navi. A Navi, the word Navi is Malachim, the Niv, Svasai, the movements of the lips, the talking of the lips. And the way the English created the world, like we're learning in time these days, is through Dibur, Basara, Ma'amaris, Nibra Oilam. The English, through his speech, he made this physical world. So when a Navi says something, this is the Eivishter's words. It means it's talking about this physical world. And now the Rebbe says over there in the Maimah that if a Navi is going to tell the Yidden, the Gul is going to come in a specific time, it's a certain thing that it's going to be fulfilled. Nothing is going to fall and not happen even from the tip of a Yud. It's going to happen exactly as he says it. This is the difference between a Chacham and a Navi. And there the Alter Rebbe says, if a Navi is going to say Mashiach is going to come in a specific time, it's for sure going to happen. Now when the Rebbe brought this Maimer in the Sikh of Shabbos Parshas Shoiftim, Tavshin Amalu, the Rebbe said this, that he's telling us that the Geula is coming very soon. Kum to Geula is not in a way of a Chacham. It's not in a way of a Shoifet. The Rebbe says he's saying it in a way of a Navi. Shazel Bevados, in the Rebbe's words, this is something that it's for sure this Managul already. It's for sure already the ace case. And the Rebbe says, the Rebbe says, look up to my bottom of the Alter Rebbe. Hey, Shinon Hate, Shinon Vav, I'm not a Baki. In the Alter Rebbe is my bottom, like we said before, but this I remember the page number. The Rebbe says to look up this Maimer, and this is what the Alter Rebbe says. So here we understand also that it's already the ace case. And therefore, the Rebbe, like we said before, the way someone lives with something is through learning about it. The way someone makes, the Alter Rebbe says, how could someone come to Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem? How could someone come to love the Eibishter and fear the Eibishter? He says, Mishashi is avoided when a person is going to think about something, and he says, oh, the more head you're going to put into it, the more feeling you're going to have. So too, regarding Mashiach, this that you have an obligation to believe and wait is, the Rebbe says, HAKHEL, to wait for Mashiach is a feeling. There's many people that say HAKHEL means you have to know Mashiach is going to come in the future. But that's not what HAKHEL means. The Rebbe says, in Pashtus Halacha, the wait for Mashiach means that Yid needs to have a feeling in his heart that he's waiting for Mashiach. He feels that he's missing Mashiach. If someone didn't eat, he's hungry, and he wants this thing that he's missing should be fulfilled. He feels he's missing something. A Yid needs to feel that he's missing Mashiach, and he wants Mashiach to come to be mashlim what he's missing. Without this, he's not God's. He's not full. He's hungry. He wants Mashiach to come. How could a Yid come to such a feeling? It's only by learning about it and bringing it into his life. The Rebbe says, how could you bring? It says, "Kol yimei chayacha, v'havi l'meisa Mashiach." How do you bring your Meisa Mashiach into your Yimei chayacha? It says, "Kol yimei," all the days of your life is to bring your Meisa Mashiach. How could you bring your Meisa Mashiach into Kol yimei chayacha? That in your day-to-day life, you're living in a Mashiach that way, but you're waiting for your Meisa Mashiach. The Rebbe says that's through learning Rambam in general, and especially the end of the Rambam, because this is what the Rambam emphasizes. When you learn the Rambam in general, you get ahead, you start to see what you're missing. A guy thinks he's a Fruma Yid by doing whatever he's doing now. He puts on tefillin, he goes to the mikveh, he does whatever he's doing now, and he thinks he's a Fruma Yid. But when a Yid starts learning Rambam, imagine a guy would wake up in the morning, and the only thing you're going to do is put a coin in the pushkin. Not fully, no nothing. You're not going to do anything else. You're going to consider yourself a full Yid. The guy's doing nothing. When you learn Rambam, you start to realize, and especially these two broken, you realize how you're missing so much from all the Torah and mitzvahs. So you start to the head, and then automatically you're gonna if you're missing something, so you're gonna want it to be Mishlemus. This is gonna make you really wait and want Mashiach to come. So, any bacher over here in the yeshiva, this is I told about Posner, and that will take out blood and they're going to learn the sefer, will get a sefer for I would say for free, but it never says for a sefer now for solid, you have to give at least $1. If you're going to take out chalata to actually learn the sefer, and like this, you're going to bring your Mesa Mashiach, you're going to live a gulatic life, and the main thing is. Take it from the Mamish, we should, like the Rebbe actually said about learning these two broken, that even by taking the Achlota to learn it, we're already going to get the schar that it's actually going to be before Mamish, that Malacham, we're going to see Malacham Mashiach building the Beis HaMikdash and taking out that it's Yisrael. So the last words of the Rambam, Mola, Oretz, Deyas, Hashem, Kamayim, Vayom, Chasm.
It's not common that I'm the last speaker on the panel, usually earlier up, so the crowd's already lost, but we'll do our best. So there's a lot of Bachrim in this room who worked tirelessly for months to learn the Rebbe's Sichos, and it is very deserving that they should be rewarded with gift cards and Sfarim. So we'll start going down the list. A lot of Bachrim that learned how to read Yiddish. A lot of Bachrim that just learned a lot of Sichos. Maybe they already knew how. They thought they already knew how. Maybe. Okay, starting with our dear one and only Avi Levin.
You went to
Cheers on Marnik. This is American dollars. Dolan. Your hood dog Frank. Next is your hood dog Golden. Yes, Chaim Bershkowitz. Not here. Next is Yosh. All right. Next is Ellie Levin. Next is Menachem Mendel Landau. Next, a Bacher who I personally have seen learning with the Shliach day and night, none other than Shalom Meidelman. David Davidson. Zelig Nelkin. Director of Protestant Art School. By the way, everyone should know about the art school. What's the line? Oh. Do not give in to your Yetzer Hara.
use it as a nation, not a Gemara. Nancy Gonsberg. Beautiful. Charles Silver. Tumer Yafi. Nasi Wagner. Our dear mommy and tati loves us and takes care of us morning and night. Yafi Silver. David Davis. We have three Bachrim who excelled tremendously in this mitzvah, getting very, very high scores, and we decided to give them, instead of 150, we're giving them 200 to us. That is two Bachrim in Shur Beis, one in Shur Aleph. David Davis. Solomon Zirkin. And Yossi Aristama. Then we have four Bachrim in Shur Gimel. We think they're smart and did halakot, and they actually worked very, very hard. They learned about 12 seconds very, very well. They got tested on real tests, not the shulchan test, and they know the seconds very, very well. It's very impressive. And we're going to call up Mendel Brunstein. Have an LA Bacher, a Baltimore Bacher, a Toronto Bacher walk into our room. Okay, Gabriel Lang. Schneer Borer. The Yamin Leib Wirtzman. And then we have, I don't know why this is being done separately, but our dear in-towners who are getting from Grand, please make sure to order in advance. Ephraim Sharfer. Shlomi Taubi. Alter Meldon. Something very, very close to my heart, David Bowman. And that's it. Everyone enjoy the
Learning never ends. Learning never ends.
Yes, take this knowledge and continue to learn. Second, now you can read them, continue to learn.
We got some drinks. Annoying. I didn't get a kill yet. I was like bartender.
We're still Oh, shoot.
Yossi.
What? Hang it out.
Yes, you're broadcasting.
Oh, yeah. They're all signed by Avi Levin with the initials YG.
Remember the A, remember the bench.
That's fine.
Thanks for giving me. I didn't do the last two tests. I didn't do the last two tests. Are these yours?
Schrecht joh, verhelp me dat.